around, follow me. So I can make little background chirping noises.
Sure, whatever you want. It's on record now forever.
No, you can sit there, that's fine.
Okay.
Did everybody take note? You got sticky notes,
Yeah.
you got highlighters.
Colors.
That's right.
Yep.
Whatever you need. The one that you were talking about, that you just got an award for the state of Vermont
Oh.
for your work with
Yeah.
children.
With the lead program.
Yeah.
Yeah, we actually voted in some money for you to do that. Yeah, I just got COVID yet. Yeah, no, they sent us a check. The town did, Tunbridge. Yeah, they sent it. I don't know, it was like, I believe it was $500, something like that. I don't know what it was, but it was like March, I don't know, when they were consolidating their books to get ready for the new fiscal year, maybe.
You set?
I'm ready.
All right.
Yeah, I'm ready.
Everybody seems to be.
I have my coffee left over. I have a peach cream on the way here, but this is my. I'm gonna do that with another coffee.
He was driving and shot him. Get on an old aluminum percolators, electric circulators, and take coffee in one of them. And you unplug it until all the come in about 4 o'clock. You plug it in, so it starts. Drink that coffee.
All right, let's bring the meeting to order.
How are you, Chief?
Good, how are you doing?
Okay. So first thing on our agenda is going to be, Loretta, what's your last name?
It's still amazing.
Okay, I know, I can't, it's got pens in the way, I wanna make sure I say it right. Because she has another select board meeting to go to after this.
Yep.
Thank you. Now I'm home.
All right, I think we had questions, if I remember correctly, about nice looking contract and all, but we don't know, so we have $26,000
Sure.
to pay, and wondered if you could do less coverage for the amount of money we have. I think that's right.
And how you came up with that figure?
How I came up, I just flat fee of $50 times, and I just averaged a 10-hour week is what. I kind of thought sheriff's department was doing like 10 hours a week. I didn't know what they were exactly doing, so I just averaged a 10-hour week. That's how I came up with that. So yeah, so that's how that came. I just averaged it and then multiplied it by the number, and that's how that came up. I didn't do anything particular, like, you know.
Were you figuring you'd have to hire another man, person?
Yeah, we've been really busy. So I have 3 full-time officers with myself, plus 1 part-time that really doesn't work anymore. I mean, he's full-time with another department, so he doesn't do a lot of work with us. So so yeah, I mean, it would be really hard. We would probably have to hire a part-time. I know that the sheriff's department has a contract for, is it $8,000 or $10,000? Because I know you said you had 10,000 budgeted, right? So I guess, what exactly are you looking for? I mean, because it's hard to do actual policing with only a certain amount of hours a week, like 3 to 5, almost, because I can take that up in just 1 investigation. So it's kind of, what are you guys looking for? I mean, because that wouldn't include any civil, you know, we don't do a lot of civil stuff anyway. I mean, we might help mediate or something, but you know, it's kind of what you guys, what is it you're looking for? I mean, I know the sheriff does some traffic, you know, stuff like that, but it's really hard to come in and do, you be like a certain amount of hours, like less than, and be good at it, to be able to help you guys. Because, really, I can come in any day and do traffic for 2 hours and probably get, drugs and TLSs and whatever, but is that what you want? So, I mean, and the other thing is, what kind of ordinances do you have for like motor vehicle, like speeding, and do you have ordinances that will go with the state statutes, things like that? Parking ordinances, stop sign ordinances.
They have that. I'm not sure.
So I'm just for an FYI, if you have those things in your ordinances, then, and when somebody, doesn't matter what department writes it, if they write it in your town and you have that in your ordinance and you can write it as a municipal ordinance, you get part of that money back. So it might behoove you to do some of those ordinances. So, because and it's not much, but at least you get a little bit back.
It's like $12 or something.
I don't know what it is.
So Royalton has that?
Yep, we have speed, stop signs, parking, well, we got a dog, whatever. Yeah, so it's just, I don't know, and I don't know how much we get back, honestly, but at least it's something to come back and help your budget.
I got a question.
Sure.
We have some roads in town that have speed signs.
Mhm.
And we have some roads that don't have. it. So can you would it even be legal to just pick on the ones that have signs and that's what I thought.
So, the thing about roads, if they're not marked properly, they're automatic 50 mile an hour. And you could write for 50 mile an hour zone. And if they're doing, whatever, but if it's supposed to be a posted 35, if it's posted improperly, then it reverts back to a 50 mile an hour by statute. So by what I mean by posted properly is there's a sign at the beginning of the road when it's, and then within so many feet after like an intersection. So if you have, say, I don't know, what's one of your roads? Spring Road. So you turn onto that, go over the old bridge. There needs to be a sign there that's posted.
Yeah.
And then whatever roads that might come into that, one after that. I'm going both ways. So.
Does
And-
Monarch have that?
There's no speed limit on there.
Most 50 miles an hour.
And yeah, and if it's a 50 mile an hour area, then you don't have to post it.
I thought we did post it because it was speeding.
We did Spring Road.
We did Spring Road. So Drew Road is done.
Well, that's what I was getting at, is we got some done, we got some not still at 50. And, if they're legally done, but they ain't all done, you can work on those.
Yeah, and there's certain things like if somebody's coming around a corner at a, even if it's 50 and, there's a caution sign that says 40, we could do them for a basic rule, too fast for conditions or something like that. I mean, so it's not impossible to write somebody when it's not posted, but you just kind of have to think out of the box.
Well, what we're getting right now is basically traffic stuff. But I think we want more help with,
We want to
looking at
respond.
somebody's horse. Somebody calls in, says, or a health officer wants somebody to go with them.
Mhm.
Or something like that. I think is more what we're not really getting now that I think we're looking for. Because the sheriff does, 3 hours of speed.
Right. So, and part of that, I'm just gonna tell you is because unless you have a set time when that person's gonna do that,
Yep.
it's gonna be hit or miss,
Yep. Well,
because.
that's what we run into with sheriff's.
Right. If I've done my 3 hours, say 3 hours for the week, and you call, well, sure, I can do next week's 3 hours if you want. Or if you don't have somebody available. I know they've been really short staffed too. They're having a hard time keeping people and isn't with everybody.
Right.
So,
Right. And they have a larger area, so
Yep.
if you call them up and everybody's over in Bradford, that's something.
or Randolph, I know they have
Yeah,
Randolph.
or Randolph, yeah.
Do you respond to crime, ongoing crime in Royalton? Or is it mostly,
There's no
Windsor
ongoing
County shows
crime.
VSP as it does,
So, we do everything in Welton.
Yeah.
The caveat is we would not do, say murder, homicide.
Right.
Because we don't have the resources for that. VSP would come in and do that. Because of, we just don't have the crime tax and, all that, so. But we do everything else. We do sexual assault investigations, assaults, domestics, whatever. I'm a death investigator. So we do across the board when we're on duty. We're usually on duty I come in between 7 and 8 in the morning. I'm on call from 2 to 7 when VSP comes on at 7. And then now with both other guys working 40 hours a week, we're here till at least 11 o'clock at night. Caveat being unless somebody's training or something like that. So.
So say like, what the rash of burglaries that's been going on, would somebody potentially call the Royalton force then and say like someone just stole
Oh,
my
yeah.
four-wheeler?
Yep, we've had that. And so if we're not on duty, the call would go to VSP. The VSP covers when we're not there.
Yeah.
So it's just like here when the sheriff's not on, VSP covers. But like I said, VSP is only covering from say 11 to 2 now. And there have been many nights that we've been here till 1. So just because it's been busy.
Because I'd be surprised. I don't think the sheriff's probably responded to almost anything like that.
Well, I mean, certainly if you had a dedicated officer for how many hours you were looking for, and they would have to obviously get, like they do in Randolph, have a contract set up for that. I mean, that would give you a dedicated person here for that many hours. And I don't know anything about their contract, so, but, you certainly could do a contract for that type of business, but because it's a sheriff's department, they have all the state construction contracts and all this. So unless you were to set a contract up with them for them to fill, it's hard for them to just stop on a dime and, yeah. And I know there's been a lot of, contention with, them not being here a little, some and a lot. And, so.
Commonly, I've heard a lot of complaints about someone will call the sheriff's department, dispatcher will say, well, there's nobody there in Tunbridge right now, so we're not gonna do anything, and then that's where it stops. And in my opinion, what they need to do with this, I don't know if it's serious or not serious, is the next time they come to town, maybe they could check in with that person.
Sure.
And so I want a response.
Yeah. Sure. And some of that, trying to say this politically, some of that is not necessarily the sheriff's fault. It's who you're talking to.
Yeah,
But she is the face of because they've had some issues with other
he said
dispatchers.
that, exactly
Yeah.
that, but it's still. Do
Yeah,
something about it.
yeah,
And people are hard to come by
Yeah.
that answer the phone correctly and all that stuff. So
right. I don't know what your contract cycle's like, or if you have a current contract. I'm assuming you guys just did one in March.
No.
Maybe? No, okay.
It just lapsed.
It just
First of
lapsed.
July.
Oh, July, you go to July, okay. Some do the fiscal year. So, what I tell people to do is I give them my email, here's my email. If you have a problem, email, that's not, like 911.
Right.
Email me so I can follow up when I come in.
Right.
The thing is if you have a dedicated officer or like a team, because obviously sometimes you can't have the same person,
Right.
but you could have a contact person that can push out those. And then, but honestly, 3 hours isn't that much a week. If you want somebody to be able to work here and, you're gonna have to pay for it. Otherwise you're gonna have to call the state police. So, and I know they're busy. Like burglaries, they don't really come out for those anymore. They take them over the phone, and, and a lot of problems is like the CSI type shows. A lot of times we can't get fingerprints. on something like this, we couldn't do fingerprints. It would have to be on like this, metal, that, you know, and it's just, people think, well, you can take fingerprints, you can, and a lot of that stuff we just can't do. And if they're not in the system, I don't know how CSI does it, but, you know, I can't solve some crimes in 24 hours.
But I think also what Gary's getting at is, you know, say there had been a burglary, and what Mariah runs into is have somebody there to listen
Yeah,
to somebody's
absolutely.
story about it, and that
Yeah.
helps enormously, just that somebody out there cares about them.
Sure.
And when it's just somebody on the phone saying, yeah, we got it, you know, that's all you're gonna get from us, that.
That's frustrating.
Yeah.
And plus, if there's a burglary at your house, then there's one over there,
Yeah.
and then you look at both of them,
Mhm.
you might say, well, the same person did that thing.
Sure.
And then somebody saw a white car, and then you go looking for a white car, and then it kills the guy.
Yep, exactly. And that's why it's good for us as officers, not dispatch, but officers to follow up on complaints personally. And not just, so yeah, I took a burglary, here's all the information.
Yeah.
No, I need to call Mariah and get that information, because I might say, hey, you know, have you seen any cars out of the ordinary lately, you know, within this last couple weeks? And, oh yeah, by the way, I did see that blue Subaru.
Yeah.
You know, so, you know, that's just, you know.
I can lose some.
I know, see? I know. Gotta watch her.
But like, yeah, I mean, say somebody broke into the school a few years ago and stole a whole mess of stuff, or, you know, at the Dunwich 4th of July parade, someone drove really recklessly.
Yeah,
We
were
never
talking
hear the
about-
end of it.
Yeah, we heard that.
And to follow up on that point, like you were talking about the car driving through the parade, I think what we discussed last week as well is that you were saying you would just like a call back in regards to like, hey, we followed up on the car and this is what we found and we actually cited them.
Sure.
You know,
Right.
we kind of don't
no
get
follow-up.
no follow-up, and then people are asking the town, like, whatever happened to that? Did they find the person? We're like, we have no idea. And so I
Sure.
think that's kind of a missing piece.
Exactly, yeah. That would help a lot.
If you had your 3 hours in and something went wrong, is it $50 an hour to have you come back and deal with something?
So, so like, we'll use the 10 hours. So what the contract basically says, if you go over this amount of hours before your year is up, then you can negotiate for more hours, is basically what it says. So it's an average. So if I do, say, 10 hours this week and then 12 hours next week, you know, we'll average, you know, you get this amount, whether we spend it in 6 months or a year, that's depending on how busy we are.
I was just wondering, not everything happens in the 3 hours you're here.
Sure, yeah.
We're gonna be able to count on you coming back.
But it seems to me you evaluate your hours every now and again and say, we're
Oh,
gonna
yeah,
go over
absolutely.
and there's nothing happening in Tunbridge, so we'll just skim a
Right.
little bit this week.
Right.
I can see if it works out that we would increase our budget from 10,000 to 15 or 20 or something, if people were happy with that. West Tunbridge.
No crime unless.
But anyway, I guess my point was that if it works, if we sign the contract with you and maybe, because we're in the fiscal year we have now, we only have 10,000, but maybe next
Right.
year we would increase it, so you would have more hours.
Sure. So I'm assuming you've talked with Bill and gone over this with him. Maybe what's not happening, what you want to happen, or
Not
Oh.
recently, but
Well, I think in talking to him in the past, it's the 3 hour deal. You know, if we wanted 10 hours a week or 15 hours a week, or, you know, he'd try to hire somebody and we'd get more hours. I mean, it's kind of on us because we're trying to cheap out of it. And so you don't get the service.
Yeah.
You
we
know,
haven't got any assurance from him that we get more quality hours if we spent more money. Or has he?
well, I think it's like she's saying, if you get 3 hours a week, you do traffic control, and what else you gonna do? But if you got 10 hours a week, or you gotta spend 15 hours a week, you know, Betsy calls up, so I'm going
Yeah.
up to Gilly Road tomorrow. And Loretta, or sheriff or whoever comes and goes with it. You know, you take it off next week's 10 hours or something like that, but when you only got 3 hours, you probably don't get that narrowed up.
But I think it would help also if there was a dedicated coverage
Sure,
officer, just so this
Yeah.
whole communication thing. we could-
Right.
we could
well,
work
and
out.
that's like I said,
Don't-
that's
don't-
why
we
I
don't
like
have
to
that
set
in
up,
Orange
say,
County.
here's my email, here, I don't normally give my cell phone number out, here's my office number. Leave me a personal message, because I know that, you know, they have the dispatch, so they send, you know, I have my, you call my number and you can put yourself into my voicemail. Here's my email, send me an email, and, you know, so, and this is what's going on, this is the problem, this is the contact information, please call them to follow up and, or let me, or even if it's something for the town, this is going on, we'd like to know what happened, you know. Communication is a two-way street, it's hard, and, you know, he should be communicating with you, you should be communicating with him, so.
Is anybody at, humane officer on your force?
An animal,
Or doing
yes,
animal
Yep,
cruelty
yeah,
investigations?
we do all that. So, and I, yeah,
That would be good.
yeah, we do, yeah, pretty much everything, yeah. Well, I don't know if you, Mark Preston, he was our constable. He's now resigned as a constable and he's one of my full-time officers.
Okay, so there's not a constable now.
So there's not a constable now. They're actually looking at getting rid of the constable position.
What's your law enforcement budget or safety budget or?
You would ask me off the top of my head, it's about 250. And that's just for like police services, because we don't, you know, they don't charge us for electricity and all that.
Right.
Because we're in the same building, so. Yeah, that's mostly for equipment and training and, you know,
Salaries.
yeah, budgets and, yeah, salary and, expenses like that, so. Training materials, training and,
So it's you and Mark, and who's the other?
Oscar Gardner's the other person. Like I think I told you, I haven't actually talked with my select board about this. So they would have to have approval on, I'm not even sure I have enough manpower for, what I would suggest first is sitting Bill down and having a very honest conversation with him. And saying, hey, look at this, and if his dispatch is a problem, he, you know, say, you're gonna lose our contract if you don't do something. You know, because that's not acceptable.
Right.
Because the dispatch is our first, you know, our first hand in the door to somebody. And if they don't feel comfortable calling that person, then they're not gonna call back when they know it needs.
Who does your dispatch?
VSP does our dispatch. Yeah, well, so there's a caveat to that. So, we were grandfathered in for free dispatching services. Currently, and you might know this through because of, Chase from the, and we're all in that pocket right now that they're trying to figure out what they want us to pay for dispatching services. So I'm not sure how long we'll have free dispatching services, so, we'll have to start paying at some point, but the legislature didn't approve their changes that they wanted this year, so we're on hold for that. So we got I got another at least a year. Yeah. Well, they wanted something crazy, like, so that how they do our calls is we can call, somebody calls into dispatch and then they start a call for us. But we have the ability to put cases in ourselves and just, you know, kind of put the information in. If it's a, say, non-emergent call, somebody like walks in, so I can do that myself. But the commissioner, I don't know how they figured it, whether it was commissioner or what, but they want to charge like $56 a call, per call. And at the time, it was 2018 when I first started, so I only had 400 calls that year. Well, this is not so bad, but now I've got 850, almost 900. I'm like, we're talking $55,000.
Yeah,
I'm like, I don't have a budget for that,
right.
you know, so that's a full-time person.
Yeah.
So I'll have to figure something out, whether it be Hartford dispatch or Orange County, but there again, we have to do. The problem with this area is, radios. We don't have any coverage. So, and that would be another problem with, you know, with, our radios. Right now, as long as we're dispatching with DSP, we use their, you know, transponders and stuff, so that's not a problem, but if you want somebody else, it would be an issue.
Everybody got me, I don't know about that.
Yeah, actually, the fire department is probably gonna stay with BSP, because the amount that they quoted them, the amount of calls they
Yeah.
had was a deal
Sure, yeah.
compared to Hartford, but you would pick up Hartford pretty good radio wise,
We should, yes, you would think
because
so.
the ambulances, but it's
Yeah,
still like.
But
14,
they
15.
have, so I guess there's
Right.
something about, there's a tower in Sharon that can, you can, any emergency service can put a free, whatever that, I wanna say
Repeater?
Yes, thank you. Repeater up and have it, because we're not on the same frequencies that, fire and rescue are. So we would have
Have to
to,
get a repeater,
yeah,
keep an eye on the grants,
yeah, right.
seriously.
All right, any more questions? All right, well, thank you for coming in, we're going to have another meeting.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah.
I'm here until like 9, so I just told him to push me off until like 8. So, yeah, if you have any questions, you have my email. You got my email. Brenda's got my email. So,
Some of us,
and you know where I live. Yeah, you drive right by there all the time, right? So, yeah, don't hesitate to reach out.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah.
All right, take care.
Yeah.
Good to see you.
See ya, I'll hopefully see you
talk
soon.
to you.
Want to come here, Brenda? Join our group?
Yeah, I'm not up though for a while, I just
we want
wanted
you
to
on
connect
camera.
with her.
Oh, okay.
We want you on camera.
I don't want to block it.
Mr. Road Foreman,
Yeah,
what's going on?
we finally got the crack sealing taken care of, and finally got all the pavement on Stratford Road,
All right.
and we,
She rides, Johnny.
you get kind of cheesed out of it, you don't got more than a couple hundred.
We didn't get to get up to speed.
Yeah. I think so.
And, we're working on getting the shoulders on. It takes a little more material than you might think for, but it's trying to rain every day. I don't know if anybody noticed. There was some stuff going on up on Dickerman that needed some attention, so we're up there for at least one more day to get some ditching and stuff taken care of. Making things get better again.
There's a hole in the ditch just above the gun shop.
Yeah. We tried to push it up on the bank, but came right back down at us.
Is that the one that's going to the fire department?
Is
All right.
the gun shop closed? Uh-huh.
For good?
He lost his license.
So,
Saving on chloride, though, right?
Yeah. I thought that.
yeah, well, you know, I actually rode around a little bit on some other town roads, and I'm still thinking maybe chloride has a little bit to do with mud. Because, see, they have the same issue I have. And so, I don't know. Maybe down the road, we'll have to listen to more folks holler about the dust and chloride down a little, see if that helps things out.
Are the,
You could check Randolph next year there.
I really I didn't.
have you noticed the difference? I mean, I see, especially on Spring Road, Monarch, down the backside, even on your road, even though it's rained so much, the road stayed there, and it hasn't got muddy. Is there a difference between that and the other side of town that may not have so much of that center material, or? or is there a difference? Have you got over the whole town with the Randolph Center?
Stuff from out of that pit over there. And most everything we have gotten over, you know, once it's packed in place,
Right.
probably not, you're not looking at much more than that a lot.
But it makes a difference.
Oh, I think it does make, I really do,
But my question, I guess, is up on like Victim Hill or someplace where the old McColl's stuff is that all slimed up now?
you know, it's a lot of, as we've had so much rain, a lot of the slime is getting washed out. And, I don't know if that's because it's diluting, but I'm still leaning towards chloride. I don't know, because,
Why don't you, pick a road next year and no chloride? See what happens.
Lab.
I guess we try that. I tried down the Allen House, but
Few miles of that.
Did you scrape the rec road?
yeah, I did.
How did that work out?
Well, you see, that there was another little situation where, the front of the ball field gets a little extra chloride, and front of Brent's gets a little extra chloride, and both of them places,
That's how Brent gets it.
because the dust is bad. And, a lot of extra tracks and this and that. Anyways, those two areas were more prone to getting slimed up. And so, I don't think you can stop using chloride. I don't think you can allow that. But, maybe we, start with, instead of doing it the way we have done it, maybe we just cut the machine in half. And what I mean is cut the feed that goes out onto the ground in half. See how the dust.
What if you diluted it? And use just as much liquid, only
That would definitely,
half as much chloride.
Or you can go twice as fast and you spread it. And 50-mile-an-hour road, you.
Oh, that's a good one.
except for the other difference,
I am game for trying any of those things. The only real issue I have with a not so good water source is most of my chloride takes place between 3:30 and 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And trying to get water mixing with that stuff. And get it out there to the job. That's the way we do it, you can't walk off and forget about it. It's gonna be all over the place trying to come back. And so somebody would have to stand guard because the water source is slow.
What else you got?
You work between 3 and 4.
I'm not gonna watch the chloride company. Thank you though for thinking of me.
Outside of trying to get the ditching caught up, and that project on Stratford Road is gonna take place on the 11th. And we're hoping a sign package will run. So we gotta make sure that we get the big trucks out of there, because I don't have any place for them to go.
I put that in the Herald. The road was closed, so it'll run the next 2 weeks. So hopefully that, and then
We must have a wet.
I have it on our website, and I'm probably gonna reach out to the town of Stratford and the other local towns and say, can you get the word out?
Hadn't thought of that. But I'll get a hold of Simon so he can take care of the ambulance.
All right, that's a good point, because we've been scolded Simon before, because we didn't tell him, and it's rightfully so, we should be scolded.
That's first branch, covers the whole traffic.
First branch and the fire department. Just in case something happens.
Pretty good at trying to not tell him. So I think the street works both ways. He may forget I told him.
There could be towards there too. One time,
The one time we're gonna probably send that down the road. Doesn't want red truck back.
What about the new truck? What's the ETA on that?
Good question. The truck itself is ready to be picked up, might be coming tomorrow. If not, I think it is coming on Thursday. Because they wanted to come tomorrow, but I didn't have time to empty out the Dodge, so it was ready to leave. And I told him if I'd get it done tomorrow, and he'd come and swap out. I thought we was gonna have to take it down. They'd rather just bring it to us and take that truck back.
No, so that's
Somebody wants an old new Dodge.
Yeah,
But the new ton truck isn't been, the body's not on it.
oh,
But one way away from that.
hopefully not. Hopefully we're roughly a month out from having a new truck.
Right.
Because the body was supposedly sent on its merry way 19th. They expect it to be in their yard by the end of this week. And if so, they will want our truck to put the body together. And 'cause I do believe that we were sending snowplow and everything with this truck was sent. Right? So that's what my understanding is.
we'll get to the snowplow.
Yeah.
All right, that's all you got.
That's it.
so one thing, probably now that we're in the fiscal year, we should probably, something like, just have you start thinking about maybe getting an estimate for the town garage expansion. We want, maybe start thinking about that next year.
We'll have to sit down for a few minutes and figure out what we're thinking we want to do. So we know what we're asking somebody to do.
Anyway, keep it in mind. That's
Yeah.
what I need.
We can start now. So.
Yeah.
Or rainy day.
Yeah, I can't wait for one of those.
Randolph has contractors go out to have it rain. State of law.
Rod, did you get a chance to order that Crossroads?
Oh, no, certainly did not.
I saw it.
But Pickett is having that stuff crushed at gravel. They're gonna crush it down to 5/8. McCullough's is crushing it, so it's a possibility it'll be some pretty good stuff this time.
Is this later Saturday, maybe?
When is he talking about?
I think they're actually crushing right now. And he would be getting it delivered. Sounded to me like he's getting it delivered in September. Alrighty,
Thank you.
Thank you, Roger.
and you're, like, as we go around the table here, your pen wheeler is still not fixed and it's in the process of getting fixed. Alright. Bye-bye.
See you next time.
All right, and if you look in your packets, have some,
I've seen it.
what's that?
I've seen it.
Oh, okay, perfect. Now. Yep, take that, sir.
interim report from the Trails Committee. Submitted earlier this month. And it was have draft recommendations at this point, just sort of an update on what we've been doing so far. We've split into several subcommittees and just been doing a lot of research. We have one subcommittee is sort of focusing on ecology and looking at wetlands issues on the 4 different trails. Another subcommittee has been looking closely at what surrounding towns have in regards to legal trails policies, and it's really sort of minimal to non-existent is what we found. They realized that the towns are kind of watching Tunbridge to see what we do, because none of them seem to have policies. And then others on the committee have been talking to landowners and some other townspeople who either haven't wanted to submit a written piece or come and speak at town meeting, but just sort of getting on an informal basis, getting their thoughts. And another thing that we've learned is that a lot of people really don't know about legal trails, don't know that it's an issue. Well, they're so wrapped up in it, it's hard to imagine that other people don't know that it's going on, but it does seem that a lot of people in town don't really know anything about it. When we submitted this report, we were thinking about sending out a survey to the town, mailing a survey to everyone in town to see what questions or thoughts they had about this issue, but we've decided that really what would be more useful would be to put together a fact sheet about what is a legal trail, what are the issues, and just post that publicly on the website. So that's something we've been working on in the committee to get that posted soon. And then I think we're pretty much at the end of our research portion of our work, and now we need to turn to the harder work, which is actually coming up with a policy recommendation. And I think what it would be helpful. Another thing that we're doing on the ecology side is that we lined up the state wetlands ecologist, which is coming next week, and then some of us are going to walk a couple of the trails and get her sort of official scientific assessment of these trails.
What's her name?
Can't remember. Sorry.
Does she have any experience with legal trails and wetlands or?
Rudy has actually been lining her up, and
It'd be nice if she did.
I hope that she does. I don't know. They highly of her, and he's the right person to come and check it out. So we'll find out. But so that's happening, I think, next week. So I guess if you have any questions for me about what the committee has been up to, I'd be happy to try and answer them. Otherwise, it would be helpful to get from you. We decided that would work best with the timeline deadline by which you would like to receive our final policy recommendation.
Is the planning commission giving you any different?
They vaguely have said August, but haven't set a hard deadline.
And maybe this would be in the fact sheet anyway, but I don't know any way of, or I've never learned it, of just where do legal trails sort of fall? Where did they come from? I mean, because it seems like a lot of towns don't have any of them. They seem like an oddball thing.
Roads that have just been the class 3 and then class 4 and then legal trail.
Right, but not
But I
everybody
know
did
there
that,
was-
right? Yeah.
No, because there was some in Brookfield that were whole roads,
Right.
and they didn't want to throw them up.
Yeah.
So they just call them legal trails.
Well, it's access to land or property or to get from point A to point B. It's all about public access. And not giving up that access,
That right
even though
away.
it's not a road.
Yeah.
And I've asked Rick Ackerman and Chelsea and Demi and Bowles and Royalton about their legal trails, and I said, what legal trails? I mean, they have them, but they don't have any, they're just there.
There,
There's no conflict or anything.
well, Paul Hill Road been there as long as I can remember. Nothing was ever said about it. So
Well, it was discovered to be a
2
legal
years
trail
ago.
back when they did the research for ancient roads.
Yeah.
So 10 years ago or whatever it was, and up until then, probably nobody knew it was 3/10 of a mile of legal trail. It was just, like you said, a little road.
Or where like state statute and VLCT sort of fall on all this, like, do they recommend, right? Like towns not have them at all because they just seem like such a bizarre one-off. I mean, I can understand, right, you're saying it's an important public right of way.
Right. And I think it
Students
is.
So at some point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The only one I can think of that I would give up is Falls Hill, because it's dead ended on somebody's property into somebody's property, so there's no reason for anyone to go there other than the property owner. And so, in my opinion, if Hemingway asked to us to throw that up completely, discontinue it, I think I might say yes, just because I don't see any reason for it.
And could a landowner say, like, Hemingway, could he create a public access right of way? Like, say somebody says,
Well,
I have
he
land.
could still let snow machines go on it and people walk on it and everything, because it's his land.
Right.
Or he could
But-
subdivide it.
But like if Timmy shut his land off, then
Does it
that
go-
road would go
Runs
nowhere.
into Angels.
It'd be just a dead end.
Right.
But if Hemingway subdivided or sold off part of his land,
Right.
he could use that legal trail as access. And he wouldn't have to do it that way. He could just give somebody access.
But I wonder if, I don't think it's probably happened, but if somebody said, I have a piece of land, like there's been a vast trail on it, and I just want to write into the deed of this land that in perpetuity, there's public access to this right of way.
Sure.
Well, same as a right away for a sprint.
Right.
You have a sprint on somebody else's land.
It's in the deed, right?
Right.
I think because Pete Jorgensen was buried up on the hill, I think Kay's driveway, could be wrong, has to have, that's a public access because it's a graveyard.
Oh, really?
And graveyards can be private.
Yeah.
Right.
So Kay's driveway is public access to go to the graveyard, not just to go up there and look around, I suppose. So there are cases like that, that are kind of different.
Yeah.
Does that help you or confuse you?
Having a private conversation.
No, I
So what
I
you
will
guys
certainly-
talking about?
add some sort of history definition of what legal trails are, kind of information. Yeah. Most people seem to have no idea.
And I know it's
What it
topics in the committee or subcommittee too, as far as like, what's a trail, what's a legal trail, what's a classical road, all these just ancient words.
Yeah, so we will.
And does the end of August seem like a good timeline for you, or is that too quickly, or
No, I think that's
That's fine.
reasonable. I'd be happy to
4.5
done
weeks?
with our committee work.
Yeah.
But then if not, it seems like we need more time. So,
Mhm.
it's good to have that.
I guess I would suggest that would be their timeline,
Submit our final
or maybe
recommendation.
for our first meeting in September or something like that.
More the fair.
Definitely. Okay.
So September 7th.
So.
Yeah.
That sounds like there's not much guidance from the state. on the trails.
Yeah, I mean, there's certainly, I would say, zero guidance from fellow town, nearby towns, that's just not existent. Seems to be a non-issue.
What about it was in the news today or yesterday that there's a new bridge over the Mississippi River, I think it was, but not clear. And they got this trail system up there for bikes and stuff. Is there anything from that we could use on our legal trails?
I don't know. I haven't followed this really.
No.
And there are certainly grants available from the state for trail improvements and
Yeah.
maintenance.
Or maybe that's in the
Something we've
future or
been-
something. Is it
Oil.
Rail Trail?
Right, that, like, I wonder, is that a not-for-profit that owns the whole thing, or is it municipality by municipality? Stretches more.
A
I
really
was
nice
gonna say,
trail.
do you have to, how do you get that land? Cause they have that up Berry too.
Well,
That
that,
was railroad.
the
Brown
railroad,
Quarry, there's that. Bunch of trails.
yes, but I think the rail trail that you're talking about, they didn't discontinue the railroad trail. That's not the right way to say it.
With that right away.
Right, because they, it's the same thing as our legal trails, as the state or whoever didn't want to give that up.
Yeah.
And so they didn't give up 100% of it,
Even though I ain't got railroad.
Right.
there, They still have land.
or the access to it.
Right. Because don't they have some huge trail now from St. J to,
You know,
wherever,
right,
where the railroad used to go?
right, yeah, post.
Cause Gilderdale worked on that for quite a while.
It's ongoing.
Yeah, right.
If you want a nice long flashlight.
Have you been on it?
Yeah. it's really nice.
Yeah,
Very
I
pretty.
bet it is.
Yeah.
Slight grades every now and again.
Well,
Up and
on
down.
Route 50.
That railroad up in Groton too. They use some machine on it.
Yeah.
Because that's, like you said, I mean, the.
Yeah.
No corners.
One down in, Peterman, I think there's.
All right, is that enough direction?
Yeah.
It's a deadline.
It's,
That's
uh,
anything we needed.
Yeah. And did you get another member, or is that?
Sort of had another. He hasn't really been attending. He hasn't been able to attend.
I like that kind of attendance. For me, anyway.
Who was that?
Isaac,
No, I know. Who did we appoint?
Luke.
oh, yeah, try to get him in for the last month.
Us. See what we can do. We sort of settled into our committees.
All right, thank you for coming in.
Well,
Yeah,
Thank you.
thank you, everybody. Eileen must be on Zoom. I see her over there.
I'm here. Sorry I didn't make it in person.
Waterfall girl.
Yeah, Waterfall's here.
Oh, yeah. But that's all.
This one says, yeah, this one's for Tunbridge. It's just kind of the draft.
Oh, I
I
get
think it's the same, Aline, right, as the one that we had for Stratford. It just is kind of geared towards Tunbridge just by the heading, really.
Yeah, it's just been changed to Town of Tunbridge and Tunbridge Select Board. So there are two copies. One is just with all the changes integrated, and the other one is the track changes from the model policy. So you can see what was added to VLCT's model policy.
Yeah, which I didn't print the track one off.
Oh, okay.
I can,
I wonder
if you'd like to see it. I can go do that right now.
What one?
The one that shows the track changes from what the VLCC model was versus what Stratford,
Stratford ended up.
yeah.
It's usually different.
Is it worth me printing off? Is it really?
Well, I can kind of go through the biggest changes other than the, changing. We changed, so whenever it said his or her, we changed that to their. And they, just because for one thing, it's cleaner. It gets kind of messy when you have his or her and she or him multiple times in a sentence and there are more than two genders. So we changed that, but the biggest changes were section under definitions, Article 4, Section B on page 2. That whole discrimination definition was added. And on that same page, E, the harassment section was added. And then on that same page, G, protected class was added. So those are the things that kind of bring discrimination and, you know, harassment into the kind of ethical conduct part of the policy. So that's on page 2. And then on page 3, under prohibited conduct, the last section, section G, is completely new. The rest, oh, I just found a typo, darn. The rest was already there. The enforcement section, the only part that was changed was to say Tunbridge Select Board and Town of Tunbridge. I can go through it in more detail if you want, but those are the biggest things, besides the pronouns.
You sort of reverse this and run it by the VLCT.
Sorry, what?
Did you sort of like when you added these changes
Mhm.
back to VLCT and say like, this document's a lot better with this in it? I just wondered if they would adopt it now as sort of their model for future going forward.
That's a good question. We sent it to them, but didn't really wait for a response. Stratford sent it to their attorney to look it over. You know, I think VLCT has a lot of good stuff and resources, but they weren't going to be super responsive to a random person from the public. You know, we weren't an appointed town committee. We were just doing this on our own. And so they were like, oh, great, thanks. This is nice, you know, but we were mostly concentrating on the town of Stratford to adopt it. And they felt very comfortable with it. I don't know. I think they were thinking it would have been more edgy, but it's actually kind of just lifted from discrimination documents. You know, the language around protected classes is all already established, and it's all federal and state law. And so it just didn't apply to elected officials.
Yeah, it's just funny because it seems like VLCT would be like, oh, maybe it's time we update our model policy.
Yeah, I can follow back up with them. I think it's been almost a year, so maybe they'd be open to it.
And your additions came not only out of discussion, but then through the town lawyer or some attorney put this in.
It was Paul Gillies that, is it Gillies or Gillies?
Gillies, I think.
Gillies. He reviewed the changes, but our changes came from, I was in a group, and one of the people in the group is well, he was the Title IX officer for Middlebury and is an attorney. So he was the one that wrote the, you know, the legal parts, and then that's how we came up with it. It's Eric Lopez in Stratford. I don't know if you know him.
Then did the select board adopt it, or was there townwide discussion once there was a document?
They had an open meeting that they published to discuss it before they voted it in. And they, you know, looked it over. They had meetings where they looked over the drafts, and they, had the attorney review it, and once they had a final draft, they posted that at one of their select board meetings, it was going to be, this is on for public discussion. Very few people attended. There were some people who wrote letters in support, I think, but they didn't get any pushback, so they adopted it at that meeting. They voted it in.
Yeah.
Oh, I think they might also have done, I can check on this, they might have also posted it on the website and given a comment period. It might have been 30 days. So I think that happened.
Publicize it
Yeah.
on the website and whatever, and then minutes, and then have a public hearing, and then no one disagrees or will adopt.
Does the public hearing have to be different than like a select board meeting? So if I could just warn it
I
that
think it's
like
just warned,
the
yeah.
30-day, after 30 days on the website, then we'll have this meeting.
And
Discuss
that's
it.
commonly with policies and anything like that. It's just,
Ordinances, right?
yeah, it's just it has to be on the agenda of a
Yeah.
select board meeting, but that's what will happen.
Okay.
Public flocks in and we have our meeting,
Okay.
or at least Brenda will come in and attend.
Yeah,
Especially if invited.
okay, I will put that on there then.
It looks like a good document to me.
Yeah,
Okay, yeah, there's one typo, so I might send you a different, I'll just edit that. But if you want to look it over and have any questions or like things, it doesn't have to be exactly the same as Stratford. This is just the baseline that was posted, so just let me know.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Every conference.
yeah.
It's gotta be-
I don't know, maybe you should leave a typo in, because it's not quite.
Okay.
Um, We're ahead of schedule by 5 minutes.
It's okay.
Ooh. Whoa, okay.
So you got any more to do with this, or can we move along? Since we're ahead of schedule.
Sounds good.
So when it would be at like our last August meeting or something like that? We would have a.
Well, maybe later than that.
Yeah, maybe that's out later.
Yeah, maybe late September. Because we want it available for,
Want to do it for the last meeting in September 21st?
yes,
Okay,
What if we had recovered?
from the fair?
For a before thing.
Yeah, exactly.
yeah. All right. Library, is Teresa not coming
She
in?
can't make it, but Becky said that she had the fuel usage and that she could give you those numbers so that you kind of have that information for.
Just,
Right?
oh, yeah, here it is. So this is very general because I didn't have time to go through and add up every single bill with fuel usage. So I essentially went through and found the average price we paid that year, how much we paid in total, and divided it out. So that comes out, and I did 19 and 20 because 20 was not a normal year.
Right,
So,
right.
so I wanted, to see the difference between the 2 years, although they weren't that far off. Obviously, diesel went down quite a bit because the price of diesel went down dramatically in 2020. And then these are the current prices that we're paying. So I know that she's gonna go find quotes, and one company wanted sort of all of our fuel needs because they would be a one-stop shop.
So what does this represent? Just the library, the all town usage?
All time, this is, so oil is just this, the town office, the town hall, and the garage use oil. The
Home meeting, well, right?
Yeah, and then propane is used in the town hall for the stove. There's a tiny amount used at the transfer station.
Yeah.
And then the library uses it to heat. So they're the bulk of what we use. And then they also wanted our diesel fuel usage. So these are the gallons that we normally use. And then that's the per price gallon that we're currently
So
paying.
the diesel's road crew.
Yeah, nobody else uses diesel. So that's just that. And this is just, to get you guys thinking, she's gonna actually come back with quotes from them. I don't know if you guys have talked to Teresa at all, and I don't wanna preempt her, speak out of turn, but she's actually read a lot of research.
Okay, sure.
She's gotten Dead River to promise to give us a lower rate. She's done some work here, so I'm sure she wants to be able to come and give you guys the whole shebang. But it sounds pretty good what she's doing. But anyway, that's what that is. Just a brief overview. I probably should have put what the cost of the school was in those 2 years.
Oh, so the historic consultant,
Oh, the guy from Woodstock.
Jack
it's,
Anderson,
Jack and
I called him.
So is this consumption in gallons or dollars?
Gallons.
Yeah.
Because that's what she wanted to know is how much fuel we use.
Yeah.
And like I said, it's just a rough average. That's approximately what we use in those years. Because Evans' fuel price changes weekly. So
probably daily, actually.
I was gonna say, for
Maybe you call him.
me to come back with I would have had to go through every single bill
But
for the
that's
entire year.
estimate.
And again, if you guys really want me to put much time into it, but I was kind of like,
I will, I'll add it right here,
Mark it down,
I'll,
yeah.
I'll keep it good.
and I sent that information to Teresa as well.
Yeah.
So what about Jack Anderson?
So he's a assistant judge now.
Yep.
He doesn't really do any of this consulting anymore, because I think you have to be up to date on sort of all the guidelines. But he said things have changed a bunch, like now, when he came here, he said now you can have the bottom 6 clapboards be not, like the traditional
Right.
pine or whatever, it should be.
We got on our house, we have a synthetic thing that will last
Exactly.
forever.
So he said the Preservation Trust of Vermont will do this work for free, so we should get in touch with them.
Okay,
I can get in touch with Teresa.
yeah, that'd be good.
Yeah, that was super nice guy.
How did you remember his name?
I think I Googled stuff, but I think the Woodstock Historical Society. He used to be headed out, he started the Civil War Round Table. And he went to a lot. He was in the legislature. Woodstock for 6 years. He's like one of those guys like Tom Hardy.
For his name?
Yeah, that's great question. So that's good.
Yeah. All right, let's see Brenda Field next.
Did you guys get this, the letter in your email today?
No.
No.
You didn't check before.
I didn't, yeah, I did never got it from you either. I think that I've included it here.
I don't know if I sent it back to you. I forwarded yours.
Yeah, you should.
This one?
No. Maybe I didn't. Don't give me slacking over here. Oh, God. I know. Here you go. I got it for you. I was too busy with the sticky notes. I forgot about them. I said I was too busy worrying about your sticky notes. I forgot about the one.
Yeah, blame it on me.
recommendations I were doing, if you were reviewing.
Yes. Got it?
So the reason I'm approaching you folks is I've kind of known about this being a neighbor, like a few of you have since last year.
Yeah.
You know, and the Hoyts, Amber and Scott were asked to be somewhat quiet about it while they figure out a way to help them out, but nothing ever came of it. Or it hasn't moved very fast. It's become evident to those of us sitting on the side that this could end up being a legal matter that's gonna go on for a couple of years. I'm really kind of concerned about them. And they didn't reach out to me necessarily. I've just been talking with them. They have a certain amount of pride, and I just think as a community, from sitting on the planning commission, agriculture has been brought up. Every time we go over this plan, it's brought up as being a huge item. I even have part of our town plan, you know, the whole gist of what we do in the town plan is you drive in the town to go to the fair, all the people coming in, it's these rolling hills. And the dairy farms that we want to keep this flavor here and we value it. I just don't want to see us lose another farm for this reason. So I thought, let's just do a citizen activation on this thing and see if we can spur it along a little bit. And I'm even kind of hoping maybe if we send this to the governor and Bernie Sanders, that we can maybe we can get an emergency grant to tie him over until it's settled in court. Because we just don't know how far it's gone through the cows at this point. And the whole darn herd may have needles in them.
Right.
And it's just not a good reason for a farm to fail. And they have to be, I think they have to be made right. I guess what I'm asking is, I'm not only looking for, you know, a petition that people in town have showed a lot of interest in wanting to sign this, but I'm asking the select board, I'm gonna go to the planning commission, the conservation commission to sign it. And the reason I feel like I could talk you into each one of you individually, but as a select board, even sign it officially, is that it is addressed to preserve, do the best we can to preserve these farms and this. You know, there's not a lot of things you can do about dairy prices in the town to help dairy farmers out or any farmers. But this is something maybe we can help. It shouldn't happen, it has to be made right. And actually it's been pointed out to us by quite a few people that it could be a national thing. As they reach into the rural areas across the United States, they could tighten their belts on how they do this, that this is an issue. And they've got to tend to business on it.
So I feel like you just need a sentence on in there about like there should be, you know, this should lead to best practices or better following of whatever. Like we don't even know, and Scott and Amber don't seem to know. Like,
Well, it's unfolding as they
Right.
go. You know, in some ways, maybe it's good that it didn't get settled, you know, for just the
Yeah.
cost of feed last fall. I don't know how much to say. But, you know, because now the whole enormity of the thing is they have cows that are continuing to die or show effects of being in pain.
or milk loss.
Or milk loss because they're in pain. You know, it's just, I think very demoralizing to them. And they knew what they were getting into. They knew they were willing to do the work. So I'm kind of asking you guys to sign as a select board to kind of make this a little more formal. And then I think, by the way, Michael Saka and Eliza Minucci helped me write this along with the town clerk, the treasurer. and Sort of, and there's a lot of interest in town people wanting to do something.
And I think a letter,
And your
a
challenge.
letter that has 4 or 5 of
Just
the town, like all the municipal town riches.
It would put a lot of strength, especially, I mean, you have to guide me, is it best to have a hand delivered to the governor's office? Email,
No, not if
Yeah.
if we actually send real signed letters for House committee. I think they do it both ways, right?
I think a real letter is not.
Yeah, I do too. I think a real letter. I know Michael Saka has pointed out to me a few times that people have got a real interest in town. So I'm thinking of sitting at the recycling center for at least one Saturday and a Wednesday. If, and just getting a lot of signatures and that, anything we do in town, that seems to be the place to go. You get everybody going out.
But people all over are interested, because I go to the races and people ask me, did it affect me? Because they've heard it on the news, they've heard it on the radio, seen it on TV or whatever.
And it may.
Yeah.
We don't know how it's going to affect other people. Beef cows.
Right.
We have no idea. They may not even be aware of it.
Right.
I don't know. Was it Sue? She offered to take all the feed for her beef cows, and Amber was like, "No, this kills animals. Why
Right.
would you want to feed this to your beef animals? This isn't just like bad feed."
Right.
She's like,
Right.
"This will."
Well, and they've got to dispose of all this contaminated feed now, and that's an issue.
Right.
It's
Well, they can't, they
a
just
little
dump it on
mountain
their
of
property.
feed that's got needles in it.
Yeah.
Where do they put it? Even if they put it on a gully on their back 40, they've got to have dump truck
Yeah.
after dump truck.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
Which
But-
was an expense to do.
Right. But
And the
nothing
vet
compared to what
fees,
it's illicit.
the vet's been
So,
figuring
Yeah,
this
no,
out.
because no one wanted.
you know,
Yeah.
And they couldn't even sell their herd now, because who would buy a herd with?
Well, it's been diminished to, I think she said meat prices, because no one knows what's in them.
Right.
Yeah, and they used to sell, Ted Linda did, and Scott and Amber sold X amount of animals every year for breeding stock or
Right.
whatever.
The genetics was a big deal.
Right.
I know one of the heifers at my place last year started to have this cough that wouldn't go away. And that's when I first heard about it. They said, well, you put a magnet down, but we got a problem.
One thing, I don't know if you looked into it, is besides this whole potential legal matter of making cotton amber whole, but where it used to be the PSC, and now it's called the Public Utilities Commission, I think.
Yes.
Where they're coming down on this, like, are they just saying like, we have best practices for this kind of, broadband expansion and they didn't follow them, or
Right.
like, I haven't heard anything from them.
Right.
Well, I went on the website of one of the cable installers, the main one, and they even specified that they do very environmentally clean work. I think this is an eye opener for
Yeah.
everybody. And it's coming forward now. More and more people are coming forward. Oh, I found wire. Well, I saw a wire. Some of it may have been from past projects with the electric company, but now it's, I think this particular one, it's become pretty clear that this belongs to EC Fiber.
Right.
And nothing against, I totally support EC Fiber. And I think they meanwhile, it was a little shocking to me that they didn't seem to really have a grasp that this had happened until after town meeting when I approached him, Swayze. That bothered me. Since the rest of us have known about it since last fall.
And just the passing of the buck, like, are they responsible, or is Useless responsible, or is this
Well,
company that's out of business responsible?
no, this is something Michael discussed when we put it that he thought it really had to start with EC Fiber signing them on. So it has, they have,
But
they're the
the
dogs.
state of Vermont at some level too, for not checking the work. I would
Well,
think.
and we certainly can ask for help, eventually if the governor's office reaches out, I think emergency funding that could be reimbursed or out of whatever settlement ends up happening, but just tie them over so that $40,000 bill from feed alone isn't that wears on you when you get overdue bills every single. That's gotta wear on you.
I really feel badly about that. Plus, they're not gonna get any more feed.
Right.
Yeah. I don't-
So you would like me to add in a sentence, say it again?
I thought the two really good things that could come out of this would be, one, Scott and Amber made whole, hopefully a huge settlement, but more immediately, right? Some sort of emergency grant for their feed, for $43,000 bill from the feed company. But then also how the state of Vermont this should lead to best practices of this broadband expansion, because somebody, all down the line, it seemed nobody was really paying attention.
Right.
Well, they've got it written in there. They've got it written in there. I think they have to review it and make sure they're doing it. It's a good time for the state to rattle everybody's cage.
Yeah.
As they rush to do rural broadband.
Right. And if this Genesis thing was just like, whatever, we'll throw wire wherever,
Right.
somebody should have been checking that more. PC Fiber should have been like,
Right.
We're sending somebody down the line to look for pollution.
So I'll add that in and
Somebody
I
must
may.
have standards, I would think.
Oh,
Like,
And
this
that-
hasn't been a problem with Washington Electric and Green Mountain Power forever. Have you ever heard of this sort of thing?
I don't think they've been in certain areas recently.
But do they use the same kind of wire?
No, I don't think they do.
No,
the phone company does all.
they do.
Because I mean, look around here, it's all. And
Well, maybe
somewhere
that's,
over toward your place, that's over toward Wheatley's, there's a stretch of the phone wire that's coming unraveled. You can see it as you go
right,
through.
yeah,
So I mean,
I've seen that.
that could fall on the ground. I mean, not that that's anybody's fault on purpose, but maintenance issue.
But that may be broadband.
It could be, I didn't pay attention.
Yeah.
Or it could also be in other areas. It could be, this is a good time to remind all of them. That's up to the state to remind all of them. Pay attention, there are some repercussions if you're not.
So if that went through the governor.
If you guys have any other suggestions of where to send this. So how do you sign this if we
If you.
just have a
If you
second
want,
page?
I can make the, that edit, and then I can just make a page that has lots of signature lines, and I'll print off, or send you 5 or 6 of them.
Yeah, that'd be great, because if I go sit, anybody, of anybody who will spell me out down there, it's like,
Do we have to make it like a petition that is definitely Tunbridge people that's verifiable? We don't need to do that, do we, per se? I'm looking at this.
Right. I think there's sort of two different things too, Brenda. If it's sort of municipal Tunbridge, all the sort of elected and appointed officials in town is one thing, and a petition of just a lot of people is a different type of
If
thing.
we're gonna sign it, then we don't want somebody else from Royalton signing it, because we're representing.
Town of Tunbridge.
Right.
And this is what I wanted to do, is officially as representatives of the town of Tunbridge, of all these people, you folks, the planning commission, conservation commission, anybody else on food shelf, anybody we can think of.
Well, I think town clerk and treasurer.
Or you're just saying,
Representing
does
town.
it need to be verified, since we're stating that we are Tunbridge?
That's my only question is, does it need to be where people, because if you were to sign a petition to say, hey, all people of Tunbridge want me to ask for this amount of money, they have to put their address on there, so that.
Well, that's fine, I can make a spot where it can say,
Well, do we
Name.
even,
But
I don't-
does it,
I don't
but
think we
does,
need it.
I don't think it has to be, because this is really a concern that flows outside the town of Tunbridge. We're trying to make a point from the town of Tunbridge for our farmers, but there's gonna be other people next door
So
in
maybe-
Stratford and around, and I think that they,
Do
Maybe
we,
you can just add town of Tunbridge and surrounding community concerns.
we could on the,
That's
a separate petition, even keep it a little bit.
but do we,
I don't even know if I call it a petition as much as concerned citizens.
right.
well, do we even need that though? Because the real meat of the matter is that the select board and the town clerk and the
Planning
planning
commission.
commission, they represent the town of Tunbridge.
Right.
And they're the ones that matter, that we represent townspeople. So I think if you got too many names, that anybody would just look at it and just
Right. Unless,
eyes glaze over it.
if you go to a petition, then it needs to be like, 300,000 people sign a petition. It has to have this huge weight of people, whereas I think just the municipal Tunbridge is really ticked off about this.
Right.
And we
That
all-
makes sense to me. It gives some meat to it.
um,
And summarizes it really for our town.
I mean, if at like at the Tunbridge Fair or something, if there was, we wanted to get a petition with 50,000 signatures or something like that, then that could be the next kind of thing we do.
Well, and that's a possibility down the road if something doesn't unfold,
Exactly.
if it's sort of, the
Because
dust settles
elected
and they
officials
ignore.
start paying attention to that.
Right.
We have an enormous amount of signatures, but I think just if we have 300 people from the town of Tunbridge sign something, I don't think that's a lot of weight.
I agree.
Okay, good.
So you don't have to live in a dump for that reason.
I don't have, well, I'm not
We
gonna.
went out to
listen,
this,
so I have to go say hi to Mike so he can tell me what he wants to tell you guys.
The nice Tunbridge letter.
Yeah, sure we do.
That would be wonderful. That also, I thought of that in the beginning and
We had one once with a bridge on it, actually.
Oh, you're talking about an actual nice piece of
That was
paper.
mine.
Oh.
Mine has the bridge on it.
I
I
will,
can send that one to you.
I'll dig deep and I'll
Okay.
see what I can find for fancy
Maybe like
paper.
a fish.
Yeah, okay.
Yep, understood.
I'll stamp it and. do all
Yeah,
that stuff.
exactly. All your
And John, you can tell me how to, I'll definitely hand walk that up there to the office. I'm sure I'll meet someone at the front desk and that's as far as it goes, but it's a small state. I've noticed that you can get attention.
Yeah.
Making the effort.
Yeah.
And anybody else you can think of that should, only one I thought of was Bernie Sanders was one of the big pushers for broadband. Who else? was-
Well, everybody's pushing for broadband, so you could.
It's a good push. It's just gonna be done.
What about the public utilities?
Yeah, I
Commission?
think they should get one.
Report of that. And wasn't Christine Hawkins, wasn't she just appointed some big
Something
thing?
for
about-
broadband,
Right.
yeah, like the
Oh,
broadband
that's
czar,
right, too.
essentially.
Right, that was a couple weeks ago.
I mean, I guess we should decide, do you keep it? I mean, you could send it to the whole Washington delegation, all three of them, if you wanted to, but it almost seems like, at the moment, keep it like a state thing with.
Well, I kind of want the governor and maybe Christine Hallquist
Right.
to be the ones that, if they know of some kind of emergency funding, this is me thinking outside the box. Amber and Scott are, not suggesting as I am. They weren't really keen on even a GoFundMe page. They've got a little bit of pride and I don't think they're looking for a handout, but
I called the agency,
I think they are.
they say they
frustrated.
don't have any money. Vermont Farm Bureau said they don't have emergency funds either, but there's still some, Rita might have something, NOFA might have emergency funds.
Yeah, Laura gave me one to look into, and I
There's
gave
something
Scott and
Farm
Amber.
and food viability, which is part of the working lands, I think they might have some money, but it seems like, once again, it's almost like, instead of just this is treating it like a one-off, like there are always gonna be these kind of cases, not specific to this, but where through some terrible tragedy, essentially, or bad luck, a farm or business needs that sort of funding, just, to keep going, and if the state and the community, say, this is important, we need to keep these people going, there should be money.
Yeah, well, we figure out what the solution to that.
Yeah, even the town of Tunbridge, I mean, almost like our emergency repairs fund that we just set up, like, we could have something. almost like somebody's house burns down or a
Yeah.
business burns down.
I agree, and that's the way I feel, with Michael Saka and Eliza and you folks. I feel like there's a lot of community concern.
Yeah.
And wanting to do something here.
Yeah.
To rattle the cage, because it looks like it's not happening as soon as they need it.
Yeah.
And they're busy,
Well, the
and
trouble,
they're a working family with a toddler.
the trouble with farming is a lot of times I've noticed this is farmers slowly but surely strangle or whatever you want to call it before they go out of business. They don't go along just fine and say, right, all of a sudden something happens like this and they say, oh, I'm done. They're like Scott and Amber. They struggle on for the next 2 or 3 years, and then they finally, after all this crap, they finally say, I've had it.
Yeah.
And so you're really low.
Well, I think they're feeling pretty low right now.
Right.
I think they're very demoralized.
So I guess my
Could
point
we,
is,
could we loan them $42,000
From
as
that
a
fund,
loan
we could.
and say, you're gonna pay it off in 10 years or no interest or something like that?
where are we gonna get the money though?
I don't know.
I mean, I'm not against it, but I mean, we have a surplus, but we have to go to the town.
No, but couldn't we pull it from
Like our
emergency fund, something out of the trustees of public funds, and any of that stuff?
I'm not against that, but I always think about what is somebody across the street, what is
Right.
Yeah,
Well,
they're gonna find fault with.
we're gonna get into tricky water if we do that, unless there's some
Then
sort of.
everybody agrees
We
with
had a
it.
fund like that.
Yeah, or there's some sort of application process, so if it happens to you, you can also apply for that.
Yeah. But I think this letter is great.
I think
should
we're
go
gonna start here. I like the idea of doing that, and I actually asked them, about, I called John up to see if we could get some emergency funding from the state. I think that's where we need to go. I think the Hoyts have looked into it, and because of this, they don't have the power
Well, I'm
to
just,
get loans that they normally would because of this issue.
after we send this, I mean, every week at the races, I sat within 10 feet of Phil Scott. And I'd be happy to slide over and say, did you get that letter?
Yeah,
And just prod him a little bit, and maybe it wouldn't help.
no, I think we are a small state, and I actually do believe that it would help, and I think he's the kind of guy that would hear you.
I mean, I talked to him about when Paul was trying to do his thing, and I talked to him for 10 minutes, probably, so I know he accepts that.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. Good. Well, I really thank you folks for the support on this.
And that's the sort of thing where, say we had a special town meeting in November, and things like the library furnace, or in this case, we could present that to
Oh, sure,
voters,
yeah.
just put it up to them, and if they said, okay, we'll loan 20,000 to Scott Amber, and you write it as an article in anticipation of a settlement, we get it paid back.
Right, that's a good idea.
We could do that, and then who can complain and say it's gonna lead
Yeah,
to.
when it's a group effort like that.
Like, fine.
Well,
Yeah, but none of you will get.
And I'll catch up with you, or give me a holler when you think you're ready, and.
Wow.
She's
Good
good.
already.
She's got us hopping.
But I'm all looking at more state potential grants too,
Okay,
because at the state level, there should be this exactly what we're talking about in numbers, there should be this kind of thing.
but do you think, just to go back, the governor, Bernie, and
PUC,
Christine
PUC, I
Hallquist?
think it's called, now, Public Utilities Commission,
Yeah.
it's this group of, 3 or 5 or something, and they essentially set guidelines for
And then just
how
stop.
utilities operate.
Just do those folks right
And
there.
maybe, the Speaker of the House and.
So there are those things set out.
Lieutenant
because
Governor.
I remember Scott Amber saying that, the thing about it is that there's something written in there that someone is supposed to go check off that they've done the things they did.
Yeah.
But maybe there needs to be better oversight.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Well, this is a wake-up call. I'm
Yeah.
sure that no one intended to
Somebody dropped the
really.
ball on this.
Somebody dropped the ball on
Many
this,
people
and
dropped the ball.
even they might be a little shocked at the repercussions of.
Yeah.
I'm sure the cable company is shocked at the repercussions of this.
Oh, I'm sure they're quite nervous.
I bet they are right now. Right?
And they
I
had
don't
no
know, from
idea
what
that,
I've heard.
oh, you throw a bundle of wire down and it goes through,
And it's not steel and the magnet doesn't pick it up, and now we've got a disaster.
And Scott Amber didn't even know about that. I said, maybe it has to be an alloy of some sort because it may mess up transmissions if it's magnetic. So maybe
Right.
that's why, things like copper and aluminum are used or stainless steel.
Yeah.
But if that's the case, right, then worst case scenario just happens.
That's why the magnets don't work in the cows either.
Right.
Of course, the needles, they've had bloody noses, so I don't know where the,
And they hate again this year, and Scott's just like, fingers crossed.
Well, and
Everything
the-
wasn't full of needles.
they're kind of stuck. I know they were trying to figure out what's an answer to anything that might go out in those fields. And they were thinking about heroin, would that help? But with all these expenses on it, they can consider changing course right now. They need that beat.
But if I was, a lawyer who had this case, it may take a while, but I would think you'd have a really good case.
I'm very curious. That lawyer initially had said, don't have to tell you you're on the back burner. So I'm busy and I hope this kind of puts it up on the front burner. I think it should be on the front burner. And I know another attorney reached out and he said, this is front burner.
Yeah.
This is actually national front
Right.
burner. You go.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you guys. Thank all of you.
So maybe by next meeting?
Most definitely.
I'll have a paper ready for signatures.
And I don't know, how do we all sign it then? Just
Well, I
3
mean,
pages of signatures, even just our committees?
I've got to go to the planning commission and get them
Do we,
also.
do we need to vote to sign on it, though?
Just the chair sign. We should vote on it.
Yes, I think we should, just on this public record.
Oh, so the deadly weapon over there.
on recorded video.
Oh, man.
What the hell?
I guess I missed it. Turn my back.
Yeah, go ahead and do it again. while
Yeah.
we're done. Camera.
So you
So-
got your sitting next.
Are you gonna vote on it?
Yes.
I think that's a good thing to get on record.
How do you want to word it? I make a motion that we, send a letter to the governor and other officials about the, BC Fiber Hoyt Farm debacle. I don't know, how do you,
Sounds good.
word?
How do you spell debacle?
That's what computers are.
Yeah.
Was Hadley your debacle? I second that.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
You have it.
Okay, thanks for that.
All right, I think,
It's our favorite time of the year. It's time to set the tax rate.
so we are gonna have to do any exercises this year?
Well, do you guys want to do that? I'm looking at that stuff real quick. You guys want to do math? I've already done it. You just have to look it over and say, yes, I agree, that sounds good. That's fine.
I make that.
It's a flip flop here. Yeah,
We're gonna send money to the school?
no, we
Oh,
don't
God,
have-
not that kind of. flip flop.
no, we don't become a funding town. We're not that. The non-resident rate is now lower. Luckily only by a few cents and not by like 8 cents like last year. But yeah, it did. I think the non-resident rate went down quite a bit, which will be good. It will. A lot of people feel like much happier. Last year I got a lot of them. I got lectured about how the school should run. And the resident rate only went up, I think, by 2 cents. It's not huge. It's a good rate this year. But I will need you guys to sign, and then that means that on Friday we print them. It will go out at the beginning of August. Holy mackerel. I don't know if we've ever gotten them out that fast.
People said I forgot about it from November 1st.
Yeah.
That will be the reason for.
Do we have to make a motion to return our sort of payment of taxes to the regular schedule?
I don't think so, because that was not my choice. I don't think we made a motion to change it so much.
We didn't make a motion to say you don't need to pay by February or you don't get penalized.
We did do that, but I think that's because we extended a second date. And that was a special.
Yeah, we had the second bill.
Yeah, I think that was a special occasion. I mean, you guys can if it,
I don't know.
I don't think so, because we didn't change our, due date, we added a second bill. Because we still had the first bill due on.
We certainly had a grace period though.
Yes, we did. But that was due to other things. And then I have one other thing to discuss with you guys. Did Thomas stop by? Did you see him?
Yeah.
All right, it's official. It can happen now. If everybody's okay with it. So my dog is going to be very lonely in September because he has been with somebody his whole life now. My kids are all going back to school. I was wondering if anybody would be opposed if he came and laid on the floor while I'm here, so that he won't eat my house. Because he can open doors, jars, climbs chairs. He's like, were you there for Captain? I used to see pictures of him like on top of counters. He's similar to that. Like, you leave him alone and he's
always been with somebody since you've been
he's
homeschooling.
always been with someone since we've had him. So now I was
We're
like,
talking about it now.
talking about that.
Not
Whatever
honest.
it is.
Yeah, we just throw it into the walls. Like, I want my kid to come in and lay on the floor. With that,
I don't have any problem, but I do have a problem if somebody comes in and is frightened of dogs. You know, that's a big thing. I mean,
no, I hear you. And I think the thing is that it used to be that people came into my office. No one does anymore because. And if he
Oh.
barks and he's
Oh.
aggressive, I won't let him be here.
oh,
But
yeah, I didn't think that.
yeah, the only reason this came to my head is that it's very rare that people come into the office.
Okay, I didn't think of that, because I always
Yeah.
come in this way.
Yeah, most people come to the
Okay.
window, but I mean, if anybody complains, I will think of something else. I don't,
Because this guy come in the shop a couple weeks ago, and Bernie's dog, and Bernie's dog wasn't even bark. And that guy was petrified. I mean, he just, you know, saw the dog and he was out of there.
Maybe it was Bernie.
Yeah.
No shirt. Yes.
But I don't think about that, but it's, some people are really frightened of dogs.
Those small toddlers.
Right,
Town clerk.
right, I try to keep mine locked inside.
Your small toddlers?
Yeah. Davis comes in sometimes. I literally have to lock the door else he tries to leave, because he also knows how to open doors.
I'm probably open
You got a
doors.
dog, he's got two of them.
Exactly. They'll be over here, over there.
That'd be okay.
Makes me a copy of this. Sign up.
Yeah, sure. Fine, whatever you want. There's all fun.
We have to make a
Because
motion on
they're
that.
at what it is, I don't remember. But I think it's-
Treasurer's dog policy.
Did it 28?
27.
Like that.
You would like a copy?
Yes, please.
Does anybody else like?
I'll
a
have
copy?
one. I'd like one, please.
All that, just the town crier and just numbers. Hear ye, hear ye.
Yeah. I just going home tonight, yelling at the step window.
One by the hive. Maybe with great anticipation was coming to the setting of the tax rate.
Dusty's on the road again, that's like, oh, yeah. 8 miles.
First day we'll go with Elton Mountain Road, right up and down there. Dugout.
Yeah, no. it's, but Yeah. It's almost like David. did.
Yeah,
Got a
just
couple phone calls.
Urgent.
those, and I don't think there's anything weird on there.
Nothing here, $171,000 in paving.
Yeah, but at least it was what they quoted us, and it wasn't like $10,000 more, which would have like made me go, whoa.
They said they're not sure.
Oh,
They're
Were they?
like he'd never seen before.
So we got 3 extra 2 times.
No, that's what it was.
Pretty exciting. I don't know, we only paid what we were quoted.
We can do warrants.
Do you guys want me to stay while you do that in case you have questions?
Yeah.
Okay. I should stay while you do this.
Did we have to? Did we have to make a motion to approve the dog? Are we not approving it?
Oh,
You guys can, I just wanted your approval, at least for a board. And it could just be a trial basis at this point. And at any
Yeah, I
time,
think I got that right
Yeah.
for a week or 2
Yeah.
weeks or something.
yeah, and if you guys hear anything, let me know. 'Cause it doesn't, I can figure something else out, this was just sort of a thought along the road of.
Never hear anything over last month.
We might.
What's the dog saying?
Mossberg. You saw Mossberg in Highland? No, we didn't stay overnight with you guys, so he came, it was just a puppy to,
I remember Ben,
yeah,
when he came home to you guys.
yeah.
and the dog.
Thomas get his.
It's a boxer.
And wrapper.
Yes. That's a very expensive thing.
What?
It's not even our wrapper. It always, I always
Pay
fuck
more,
with
but
it.
own it.
That's the best.
And it wasn't even something Thomas did. It was RJ that decided that the wrapper was not ideally placed and moved it 5 feet. And then set it right down on the control box.
Oh, nice.
And which is about $2,000 to replace.
Very nice. How many round bales do you have to make to get that money?
I don't know.
How many homes do you have to build and stuff?
I was
Probably
thinking,
not that many.
I was thinking about it. How many squirts of milk do I have to get?
Wow, that's a lot of squirts.
He does do it right. Oh, yeah, he'll have you think he does.
Yes.
I'm gonna try to get Ben a job in Scott Nevers farm.
Do they have a help wanted sign?
11. Needs to do something.
Yeah.
Now hiring 11-year-olds.
Well, Alex has his house sitting,
Where's the house?
on Angel Road, the end of Angel Road. Kristen and Jason. I don't know their last names, I cannot say.
You just drop them off there and you go get them in a month.
Pretty much. He watches their dogs and takes care of their house.
Just Bye Bye Birdie all done. Did they film?
Bye Bye Birdie is all done. You can go see it now on August 22nd.
Right, so, Chandler,
You should definitely go see it. I think it's gonna be hilarious.
Have to drive it.
No, it's at
Oh.
Fars Hill.
Oh, yeah.
Where?
Fars Hill.
Oh, that's Terry's friend.
I was gonna say, I don't know. It looks like it's in the middle.
In your shining.
Yeah, Terry bought Fry's farm up on Sand Hill,
Oh,
and he's fixed it all up.
Really?
Turned it, yeah, he's had a couple of Winterfest things there.
oh.
Yep. That's where it is. They're also gonna do one showing in the Chandler.
What?
They're gonna do a showing in the Chandler
Oh,
of the movie. And then if anyone has any interest in Fiddler on the Roof, that'll be in Barnard.
At the town hall.
Mhm.
Yeah. Alex is in that.
Kids, yeah.
Oh, that's fun. That's fun.
I don't know. It's funny. This was not his choice of musical.
Those are rich men.
Is he musically inclined as well?
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Oh, yeah. He can sing.
Never heard him sing.
You should come.
That would probably do it. I would understand those, like,
Although I will say it is hard for farmers. They never have shows that are on farmer time.
Since you're here, I'll pick the brain. What do we have budgeted for health officer?
400.
400?
Could be, I don't never.
Oh, Betsy said there was somebody.
Who's somebody?
I don't
The
know.
woman who was
Somebody.
interested.
Yeah, I have them here. Yeah.
Oh, really?
You want an update while you do more? So 3 people have reached out to me. One's Jody Hoyt, who I think talked to you, Gary.
Yep.
She's an RN. She worked as an infection prevention nurse at Dartmouth and as a general surgery nurse. She worked as a community nurse case manager for a company in Woodstock. She's just been homeschooling. They own in Royalton, but they're closing on a house in Tunbridge at the end of this month. She was wondering if it was paid or volunteer, so that just says 400. And how many hours the town was looking for. So she knows the people in the area very well. And she just was wondering about that. She did mention today, she emailed me and said that Gary had told her to come for a select board meeting. She couldn't come tonight, but she's gonna come for the next one. We have another woman named Susan.
One was like, that's the race.
Okay,
Betsy said she stick around for training.
okay. Another woman named Susan, she will be moving back to Tunbridge September 8th. Again, she was looking for hours that this would entail and what kind of experience you're looking for. I don't think she's a nurse or anything like that. And then one other woman named Anne reached out to me as well. She wanted to know if the applicant had to live in Tunbridge. She currently lives in South Stratford. She has a bachelor's degree in nursing and she has 38 years of experience. So she wanted to know what else we were looking for, and she said she had a resume if she wanted. Would you like me to invite all 3 of them to join the next select board meeting, and then they can talk with Betsy some? And
Maybe I'll send them all a note what we're paying.
that's true.
See if
Then
they're
they
still-
might be weeded out.
See if they're still interested.
Start at
Okay.
$400 a year.
Are you interested?
$400.
And then, so do they have to live in Tunbridge, I guess, was one of the other
It's
questions.
not elected, right? It's
Yeah, I don't-
appointed.
I don't think you
and
have
then
to.
Therefore,
There's some other position that you don't have to live in town. You can't-
Yeah,
We warned them now, we passed the bill that she was on.
For the
Oh, maybe that was.
Forest, we were talking about that.
Right.
I think elected officials have to live within the
Administrative
town.
assistants don't have to.
No, I think it's just, anyone elected has to live within the town because they are elected by the town. But anyone hired or appointed.
What else would you like to know from me?
Just in general.
Careful.
I know we had discussed a noise ordinance potentially. Actually, maybe we didn't discuss it, but it was brought to my attention by Catherine Adams because, on account of like barking dogs, fireworks, gunshots, all of that type of stuff. I have a sample one for the town of Middlebury that I can either share with you, or I can also try to go through and put our spin on it and then bring that to you. But as far as an ordinance goes, does that have to be something that has a public hearing and 45 days discussion and then a vote? Okay. So yeah, I can start kind of tuning that in for us, and then we can.
Yeah, because we talked about that a year ago, or 2
Exactly.
years ago, whatever it was.
Okay, yeah, so I got the ball rolling on that.
Right. You're valuable.
Oh, thank you. Last week I was, what was I?
Look at her
I
head.
I know.
Just gotta look.
I gotta look back in my notes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's invaluable and insane last week, actually. It was one or the other.
You're saying.
This week
You're
I'm
valuable
saying,
and saying.
yeah,
that's what I'm trying to-
perfect. I'm doing well.
Meeting's not over.
Careful, Lisa.
All right. That. Does anyone have any questions about anything on the orders they saw today?
Nothing yet. Yeah, so I guess you're safe to go, because I'm sure I will find you.
In fiscal year. How much was our surplus? What did we get for
137.
Hourly things over and signing. These are the minutes that were already approved. They just need a signature. I updated them and fixed them.
minutes we're supposed to?
Yeah, and then the new minutes I have right here.
Well, that's why I get secondhand.
Wow.
These are,
If I were.
Oh, I know. Is he singing around the house? Is he singing when he practices?
Well, he sings it all the time now, so
Right.
I brought it up and he starts. There is $138,111.61. Which,
And is that broken out between the highway and the?
nope,
general?
that is
That's
the
total.
general fund surplus, the highway surplus,
Oh, that's all general fund?
yeah, that's all general
Wow.
funds. I put 100,000 of the highway surplus into paving. So that we could pay for that paving project, and when the grant comes in, we'll decide where to put that.
So what was the highway surplus?
Just a little over.
No, it was a little over. There was more, I put the rest in the emergency. Feels very strongly about that.
just for your perusal, this is a copy of the mitigation plan from the planning commission.
Oh, I mean, wait.
Yeah,
This is June 22nd.
it was supposed to say July. Right?
No.
No, that was June 22nd. That's,
That's gonna be our last meeting.
no. One of these is your last meeting. Maybe I can't do the wrong one. Yeah,
Yeah.
oh my gosh.
What was I saying?
This one.
There we go.
So the highway had 156, 180.
What?
156,000. $180.50.
That's a lot of over, but
Well, that's also a lot of like grant money that came in. Is that 56,000, I think, was mostly grant money. I told you I can't.
Move it a different order here. Because O'Brien makes a motion to move the approval of the minutes until, just because move and motion are the same.
Okay.
Right, so I don't know what to postpone or push back or.
Okay, yeah.
So there was 55,000 that came in grant money.
Sure. I can look up synonyms.
Oh, we had that savings in the health insurance. We budgeted 10,000 for garage repair and maintenance, and we didn't have like 8,000 left over of that. The John Deere, we bought a new John Deere, we had 20,000 budgeted for maintenance. We only used $211 of it. And road salt. Those were some of the big ones. And some of those you can't really anticipate. All right. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
You're
thank
welcome.
you.
Lonely evening.
Well, the secret dog will open the door for you.
No, he's probably already got the door open.
Yeah.
Sorry about shutting it anymore. It's a problem when he goes down to the neighbor's house. That's.
You have your key.
I do not. Oh, wait.
CLOP.
It's not actually a cloud.
Cloud.
Like Lloyd's.
Oh,
It's Scottish, isn't it, or something like that?
I saw that on CLO.
She's in the cloud.
And you're like,
I don't know, never even heard of these things.
now you have.
Now I know, I will not, it's incorrectly spelled again.
Just think in the years to come, somebody will sing the clouds and you'll spell it out.
Like, you know what? Loser, you didn't know how to spell.
You'll lose it, yeah.
In the city.
You signed this last meeting, but I think you accidentally took it home, or it's lost, or it was recycled. It's for the solar people. It's
Oh,
that letter you
yeah, I
had
remember
signed.
signing it.
If you could sign it again,
Okay.
You lost it.
I mean, I'm not blaming anybody. Could be my fault. I'm not, I really don't. I really don't. Somewhere,
We're on Main Street.
yeah,
There you go.
thank you. I'm gonna go send this
I
to
find
them
it-
right
I
now.
didn't tell you.
You get your engine back.
Nope. We see
Blow it, blow up.
it could any day, so it's like not run it to get the new engine.
Double points.
I did do double point,
How'd you do?
15,
Right, so,
15, so I didn't go backwards. I called Jim yesterday and I said, Jim, I've been calling him about once a week and saying, I'm not bugging you, I just kind of want to keep it going. And I said, Jim, I'm bugging you now. And he said, okay, I'll get right on it. So I took him up an engine to rebuild. And he said, looks real good. And so when I called him Friday, I said, Jim, I'm really bugging you now. And he said, I'll order the parts. But I decided I'm not gonna run again until I get the motor.
what time?
I'm not gonna run it, I'm not gonna drive again until I get the new motor in the car.
So I'm gonna run for select board.
You're the one that,
How do you know?
People keep passing me. I can pass them.
That happens on the interstate with me.
You can free us, so.
yeah,
Yes,
you
you can-
better run and come in 20th and you're had enough to run, right?
So far out of the points now, it doesn't matter. My goal is to win a race or do something, so. We'll see. I'm gonna go and enjoy it, I'm just gonna be a fan.
Would you like to sign these?
What ain't,
These are already approved. They
Yeah.
just need-
what time?
Sorry, I'm not trying to interrupt.
The race
Racing
is up.
You didn't need to.
She only makes that mistake once.
Lenny the Tiger pulled in the other day in his hot rod,
What's he got for a hot rod?
yellow thing with a Buick straight 8 motor in it there.
Really?
That he built. Yeah, wasn't he at the bridge?
No.
No, he was at
No.
the Randolph Bridge. Yeah, he built a hot rod to a straight 8 Buick. And
Really?
oh yeah,
What's he got for transmission?
I know, some 4-speed.
Yeah.
Yeah, he loves that thing.
Yeah.
He told John visit with dog,
Is it?
man. He's 81. You imagine that?
Yeah.
81.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I can't imagine.
Seems possible. Does it, I mean, I've never seen it. Does it have fenders on it or is it like a?
Yeah, it looks, like a, kind of like a Model T bucket thing,
Yeah. One of those.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's yellow.
Yeah, he painted it bright yellow.
Yeah.
School bus.
How does a straight 8 sound when it runs? I mean,
It's really smooth.
is it smoother like a D6 versus a 6-cylinder? I mean,
Yeah,
They
you
just,
can't even hear it running. They're just so
Yeah.
smooth.
Action sentence is good. Did he grab that? Did he get through?
he didn't say. That's weird.
Or anyway,
Sure has.
You ever get a different carburetor on your John Deere?
yes,
Did it make it different?
for about half a day.
Yeah.
Back then.
Something. I'm gonna come over and get it this fall.
It was like, it keeps losing a cylinder.
And you only got 2. So
Yeah,
you're
exactly.
50%.
Not a lot of power when it goes down.
I remember my grandfather fell spark plug, you might swell.
Right.
What
Walk
causes
home.
that?
Well, on his, it was probably because the spark plug was 50 years old.
Yeah, well, there you go. You know,
But it's like you lose, what is it, 40 or 50%? No, not 50% of your power, like on a V8 when you're down one
Yeah, but
cylinder.
it's
Oh, right.
probably, on that 2-cylinder, it's probably like 70%.
Well, that's what,
Because
that's what I was
because
getting
you're
to.
still making that other piston go up and down.
Right. Remember this.
Writing it down.
Do you have minutes if I can look at?
These ones here, that's signatures.
Just follow me to find it. I'll look at it.
Those two. Wow, what a minute.
I like to rail a lot. I don't-
Oh, this is the midterm meeting.
Yeah,
That's a joke.
yeah, is that okay? Would you like less notes? Would you like more notes?
That's good.
I take them for this, White River Valley Supervisory Union.
do.
Yeah, and they want like nothing in their minutes.
Yeah, I
They
don't like
want
that.
like one thing, like one sentence per agenda item, basically. So it's really hard to make
Just
it.
criticize somebody.
Cause that's all right now, but when you read those 10 years from
Well, and
now.
that's what I was thinking. We're going with this trail stuff, we're going
Yeah.
back through old select board
Right.
meeting minutes,
There's
and I'm
nothing
like,
there.
if people don't understand, you know, like, I wanna really.
And you talk about, Flint Farm and, well, they ain't been there for 80 years. So you don't know who they're talking about.
I have 2 liquor licenses. One is just a request to cater for, Mr. O'Brien's wedding venue,
I'm not signing that.
for October 15th. Just a wedding up there. I need an approval or a disapproval for
From
that. Okay.
the beer or just,
Everything.
It's Big Daddy's Barbecue, so maybe we should
Oh,
wedding
man.
that. Yeah,
How do we spell rhymes? There's no H in it, right?
I looked it up, there isn't.
It's serious.
It's just like rhymes.
Cause I thought for sure it was something. you
Right,
did,
I
yeah.
swear.
you see it every day. You know, don't-
Rhymes with good
And then this one is a bigger one that needs select board signature. It's for, on the fairgrounds, for the, how can I think of the
Beer
word?
hall?
Yes, thank you.
For what?
The beer hall.
Oh,
Yeah, that's a beer hall.
building.
So the signature for that is on the side.
Gotcha.
Is DR Elite the same as Dead River?
David Royce. Is that Scott Durkee doing that at the beer hall
It
again?
is, yeah. You all 3 want to sign? Because I said there's 3 people on this list. Love beer. Wow.
you ain't getting a raise. So.
I don't think I get paid anything as an administrative assistant. It just was lumped in with my town clerk stuff.
It's a volunteer. You
Exactly.
get 400 a year.
I don't think
We're gonna keep it the same as our policy.
I don't think
You
I,
get the cheese and crackers and the conversation and
I
you
mean,
learn your
the
words.
cheese is superb cheese, so I will take that. Gets me out of the house twice. This is like my social outing.
50 minutes for F, but
I know. Well, I just do that on Zoom. I don't leave
Oh,
the house
really?
for that.
sorry about that.
That's okay.
What's Devin cook supper for you?
I think I'm just gonna have cereal tonight, which is fine.
What's he having?
I don't know. My parents were over there because I don't know if you saw the excavator in my front yard, but
Yeah, I didn't, but I saw a different car there.
yeah, we got,
I saw your brother's truck there too.
my brother's truck.
Or
was
maybe it was, did your dad have a black truck?
That's my brother-in-law's truck
Oh, okay.
and his excavator. But my dad was using it, but, we bought a wood boiler.
Yep.
So we had to dig for the pad, and, yeah, and then we had to dig to run the pipe. and stuff. So we'll see how that works. We said if it doesn't heat our house like we are hoping it's going to, we're just gonna, it's gonna be a 3 seasons house. We're gonna close up in the winter and throw the towel on.
Dave Russell lived there years ago for a winter. He said the furnace stayed on all the time.
Yeah, I spent so much money in oil and it's, I last winter, we only lived on the first level because there's a bedroom down there, so we like
Yeah.
blue boarded up the stairs and shut everything off, and I think I was still paying $600 a month. for
Yes.
it. Yeah,
You gotta get a permit though.
I,
One of those things.
we don't, for sure. I even
Just
asked Gary.
metropolitan coverage if you're out of the West Coast.
Yeah. I even called Gary once and I said, Gary, do I have to do this?
Sometimes do, right? Sometimes.
That's just bad.
Yeah, I mean, there's like guidance.
Power plant.
from the state and stuff in regards to like how far away from other
From
people's.
the road foreman.
Yeah, exactly, 100 feet from the road foreman, so we did measure that out.
And it's what,
Although Rodney's like, we don't care, so I know.
okay, until the smoke comes in the
Right.
window.
Well, it's like one of the new ones, so it's like super efficient,
Yeah.
so it hardly has any smoke at all.
That's good.
Yeah. It will text your phone when you need to put more
Oh,
wood
yeah.
in it, yeah.
Text your neighbor's phone.
Text me.
Rodney, go with the
2 o'clock in the morning, we wanna run out, throw in the stick,
Um,
I like Kurt McCullough, his there, and I lived upstairs in his house.
Yeah.
He had these friggin' ugly chunks, he'd pick them up with a bobcat, dump them in there.
Yeah.
He'd say, "Tonight, turn your heat up as high as you want," he said, "We don't care."
I knew it. One of those, he said, oh, you want to fill it twice a day, put in half a quart at a time.
Yeah.
Ryan Lawrence, librarian, you saw a 3-legged fox, but did not say that.
He did not save it.
Funny way to read it.
Oh, I also reached out to Central Vermont Solid Waste Management District, mouthful.
Yeah.
And they directed me to somebody through the state, I think it was EPA or somebody who's in charge of transfer stations. We can limit who comes, that's totally up to the town's discretion, and we are very much able to make like a commercial, policy that like commercial buildings cannot use our transfer station, because we were talking about
Right.
all the recycling and stuff. As well as it's totally fine if we want to make stickers and just limit it to residents. That's an option if they wanted to think about it.
Oh, you're on the next part of it. Well, I tried to call Stella Barrington about the quarry, and I didn't get hold of her yet, but I'll try again. See if maybe I'll have vacation or something.
Did we hear whether we got monies from the trustees for other things?
I think so. They were in here having their meeting. Pretty sure I didn't hear otherwise.
He's pretty positive about it.
Yeah.
gonna have Sheriff Boswell next time for a discussion.
We probably should.